Jeremy Corbyn was asked about the U.S. illegally assassinating General Soleimani of Iran, and the way that this question was asked, it's without a doubt a got you question. They're trying to play got you with Jeremy Corbyn and run headlines about how, oh my God, he's an apologist or whatever. But he really handled this question well, so let's play it and then I have a lot to say.
Do you doubt that Soleimani was engaging in terrorist acts? Do you doubt that he was not in Baghdad, as the minister said today, in order to plot assault on the West and on coalition
was
forces?
In Iraq for reasons of contact, I assume, with the Iraqi government. I have no idea what his actual meetings were. All I'm saying is that to assassinate an official of a foreign government in a third country, in this case Iraq, is illegal under any law. And the US, if it wants the world to stand by international law, must stand by international law itself.
Do you accept that Soleimani was a terrorist, somebody who commissioned terrorist acts against coalition forces from a range of countries?
I'm not here to defend special forces of Iran. I'm not here to defend any of those actions that have happened or been planned for the future. What I'm saying is the only way forward, if we believe in international law, is to abide by international law. This is a provocative act which has made the whole world a much more dangerous place.
But Boris Johnson said at Cabinet today he was a terrorist who commissioned acts of terror against the West, the US, and coalition forces. Do you agree with that assessment?
It's very odd that Boris Johnson couldn't be bothered to come to Parliament to say that himself, couldn't be bothered to come and answer questions, couldn't be bothered to answer my letter until early this afternoon on this whole question. He's the Prime Minister of this country. He has to be held to account for what his government says and does. He has to be held to account for his own actions by coming to our Parliament to answer questions.
But Soleimani, terrorist, yes or no?
Soleimani is the head of special forces of Iran. They obviously operate in all kinds of places that you and I would not agree with or want. That is not the point. The point is it's an illegal act that took place, and if we want to end illegal acts by anybody, you don't commit them yourself.
Now, again, I think that was a wonderful answer, but you got the cackling morons who are out there going, he's defending him. He loves the enemy. Jeremy Corbyn loves the enemy. Pipe down. Like, I never understood the people who love to play, like, got ya politics. Like, ooh, you gave a thoughtful answer. That's not allowed. Oh, God. Wouldn't it be great if we had, like, actual honest conversations instead of, like, this, like, aha! Aha! Okay, so, first of all, to answer one of the things that the guy said early on, and Corbyn didn't know either. He's like, I don't know what he was doing there. We know now. He was literally on a peace mission. He was trying to ease the tensions between Iran and Saudi Arabia. That's a fact. This is what the Iraqi prime minister said. He was assassinated by the United States while on a peace mission. You want to know why? He's also a statesman, on top of being a general. Now, that might trigger you. I don't give a fuck, because that's true. So, if you can say, I'm a facts over feelings person, okay. Then digest this fact and move on, because it's true. So, now he keeps out, is he a terrorist? 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 The definition of terrorist: a person who uses unlawful violence and intimidation, especially against civilians, in pursuit of political or religious aims. That's the definition of a terrorist. He doesn't fit that definition. He doesn't. He doesn't. Even the strongest claim by the United States is he was attacking, at the height of the Iraq War, he was training Shia militias who were fighting the United States soldiers in Iraq. So he was training Iraqi Shias who were fighting the United States in Iraq. So, in other words, it was targeting of opposing soldiers on a battlefield. That doesn't fit the definition. Now, does that mean that, he's a good guy? No, I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying at all. And if you think that's what I'm saying, well, you're wrong. So get that through your head as well. But he doesn't fit that definition. Targeting other soldiers, no. It's targeting civilians in the pursuit of political or religious aims. So that's not what he is. That's not what he is. Now, but the other point is, and this is even more important, because forget, that's the definition of terrorism, and it's the definition that I happen to think makes the most sense too. But the definition that we've been told for years from the U.S. government and Western governments is not the one I just gave, because they add a little thing to it. You know what they add to it? It has to be a non-state actor. Now, why? Why do they add it has to be a non-state actor? Now, again, I don't agree with that definition. I agree with the first one I gave. But the reason they add, it has to be a non-state actor, is because they want to absolve themselves when they kill civilians for a political goal. So they want to be like, you're saying we're terrorists? We can't be. We're a state. So we're viable. So when we do it, it doesn't count. I'm not kidding. This is their mindset. This is how they wiggle their way out of it, is they say, no. When we kill civilians, it doesn't matter because we're a state actor. In order to be a terrorist, you have to be a non-state actor. This is their definition. So he definitely doesn't fit that definition if you use their definition that they have been screaming at us throughout the entire war on terror. That's what they say. Again, that's not my belief. Is the definition of terrorist is a person who uses unlawful violence and intimidation, especially against civilians, key part, in the pursuit of political or religious aims. That's what I think is the best definition. They say that's the definition, plus it has to be a non-state actor. So in other words, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, they're terrorists. Non-state actors are terrorists. But if it's a state actor, it's legitimate violence, and it is by definition not terrorism. Well, Soleimani was one of the top generals of the government, the state of Iran. So by your own definition, he's not a terrorist. But look, guys, all of this is irrelevant. This whole conversation is irrelevant. But the reason why I'm responding to it is because I want to show you how they change the conversation and how they demonize the left. This is how they change the conversation. This is how they demonize the left. They turn around and they go, oh my God, how can you trust what this guy says on any other issue when he won't even admit that Soleimani's a terrorist? So obviously, he's sympathetic to the enemy. Obviously, this guy doesn't want what's best for you. This is what they do. So you don't have to engage on the actual issue. You don't have to engage on the merits. You don't have to engage on the other fact that he keeps pointing out rightly, which is that this was illegal under U.S. law and international law. This was a war crime. You don't stop war criminals by committing your own war crimes, because then you're a war criminal and the thing that you say you hate. But instead of engaging on that, they're like, aha, Jeremy Corbyn was the best man at Soleimani's wedding. And he won't admit that he's a terrorist even though he's a terrorist. Shut the fuck. You guys are such hacks, man. You're such hacks. For once in your life, stop playing got ya, and let's have a serious conversation about what actually just happened here. You don't want to do that because you know what the reality is? There is no actual conversation to be had here. There's no such thing. Let me defend an illegal and offensive attack against a country that wasn't going to attack us and a general that was not going to attack us. Let me defend the wanton, brazen violation of U.S. law and international law. Let me defend this war crime because I don't like him. He's a bad guy. He's a bad guy. Dick Cheney's a bad guy too. Should Iran send a drone over his house in Wyoming? Oh, that's right. I didn't think so. That's right. I didn't think so. Right. So the law is supposed to be objective and apply to everybody. Justice is supposed to be blind, but morons here try to act like, no. Whatever we do is okay by definition and defensive by definition, and whatever they do, no, that's bad and wrong and terrible no matter what. Stop embarrassing yourself. For the love of God, stop embarrassing yourself. I mean, it's really sad, and the media is terrible on this as well because they fall hook, line, and sinker and do the propaganda for the administration just like in 2003. Guys, they started out by saying, General Soleimani was going to do an imminent attack against us. And then thankfully, there were some people in the media who weren't their usual selves, and they asked, oh, really? There was a threat against the U.S. homeland? And Pompeo, even though he lies all the time, was like, mm-hmm. No, I said homeland? I don't even know about no homeland, bro. I don't know about it. I don't mean no damn homeland. I mean he's plotting maybe kind of in the region, actively plotting in the region and stuff. So it went from U.S. homeland to, oh, no, it's in the region, and he's actively plotting actively plotting. You know, Sam Cedar pointed this out. He made a wonderful point. He's like, why are they adding the word actively? He's actively plotting. In other words, he hasn't plotted. We're going to say he's actively plotting. He's in the process of plotting, which means if he's in the process of doing it, I mean, we don't have any evidence to show he was actually doing it because he was in the middle of doing it. So what, you want us to get evidence when he was just in the middle of doing it? They always sprinkle in the weasel words to give themselves that wiggle room. They even said potentially a few times. Oh my God. Potentially, plotting against it. What? Anything is potentially happening. Are you kidding me? They're trying to get away with it, man. I'll say this one. I said this 1,000 times. I'll say it 1,000 more. I almost said I said it once. I said it way more than that. This guy just finished attacking ISIS. Like, we just defeated ISIS. He was our ally in that fight along with the Kurds. He was our ally in the fight against ISIS. Literally our ally against ISIS. So we were just celebrating with him when we defeated ISIS recently. And then all of a sudden, now, totally flip. And even though he had just defeated ISIS with us, and even though he was literally on a peace mission to de-escalate the tensions between Iran and Saudi Arabia, public enemy number one, they want you to believe. Public enemy number one, the threat of Shia terrorism against the United States. I got news for everybody. The only terrorism in this situation that we really have to worry about is U.S. terrorism, because again, I don't buy the definition of non-state and state actor. U.S. terrorism against Iran. And there's a long and documented history of that, boy, let me tell you. You guys all know it because you watch this show. 1953, we overthrew their democratically elected government because Mohammad Mossadegh was going to nationalize the oil and give the profits to the Iranian people. U.S. and the U.K. said, no, sir, not on our watch. We overthrew him in a CIA coup, put in the Shah so we could keep getting that cheap oil. 1979, they overthrew our puppet dictator and put in it's the Islamic Revolution. Now you have theocrats running that country who are brutally repressive. So they took over. We've wanted to overthrow them since 1979. And we've been trying. We backed Saddam Hussein in the 1980s in the Iran-Iraq War. We gave Saddam Hussein chemical weapons and let him use them on Iranian civilians. We shot down a passenger plane, an Iranian passenger plane, a while ago, but we did that. So there's a long documented history of U.S. aggression against that country. We ripped up the Iranian nuclear agreement when they were following it. We sanctioned medicine going into that country, economic warfare. And now we assassinate their top general, and everybody's going after Jeremy Corbyn because you didn't make the right mouth noises. You didn't do that, and you got to make the right mouth noises instead of focusing on who was the criminal aggressor in this situation. Stupid Jeremy.